I'm really bad at puzzles. Of course, I know every piece belongs, but I just don't know how to make them all fit. And thinking about it, sometimes in my life, I feel this tension happening too, that I don't always fit in, but I know deep down that I belong. Maybe you felt that way in your family, with your friends, or at school. And belonging, it isn't even about fitting in. It's about being true to yourself and being accepted for who you are. Today we're going to learn about a country that knows exactly who it is and exactly where it belongs, but has spent many years figuring out how to fit into the bigger and ever-changing puzzle around it. That country is Israel, a small Jewish and democratic country in the middle of the Middle East. The Jewish people's story in the land of Israel goes back thousands of years. This land is where the Jewish people as a nation were born. For over 1,000 years, Jewish kingdoms flourished in the land, alongside other kingdoms and empires that came and went, like Egypt, Assyria, Babylonia, and Persia. But then something happened that scattered the Jewish people around the world. About 2,600 years ago, the Babylonians destroyed the temple in Jerusalem and forced many Jews into exile. Later, the Romans did the same, sending even more Jews away from their homeland. The Romans even tried to erase the Jewish connection by changing the land's name. Over the centuries, the land was conquered by invading armies from the east and west and north and south. By the Middle Ages, most people living where the Jewish kingdoms once stood were Arab and Muslim, with small but significant native communities of Christians, Jews, and others. For nearly 2,000 years, most Jewish people lived as minorities spread around the world. But here's the incredible thing. No matter where they lived, the Jewish people never forgot where they came from or where they truly belonged. Jews prayed facing Jerusalem and always hoped to return to their ancient homeland. In the late 1800s, more and more Jews began returning to rebuild a Jewish state. They dreamed of a place where Jewish people could finally feel safe, at home, and respected as a nation among the nations of the world. This dream even had a name: Zionism, Zionut, the movement for the Jewish people to return home to Zion, Zion. After many years of developing land, forming governments, opening schools, and building a practical country, that dream finally came true. But it didn't come easily. In 1947, the newly created United Nations faced a complicated question. How could this land be a home for both Jewish Zionists and local Arab communities, now called Palestinians, both with deep connections to the same land? Representatives from more than 50 countries voted to create two new states, one Jewish, one Arab. The Jewish community accepted this plan, even though it was imperfect. But the Arab world rejected it, and fighting broke out in the land between local Arabs and Jews. Almost 6 months later, on May 14, 1948, Israel declared independence. A Jewish state in the Jewish homeland was reborn. But the celebration didn't last long. The very next day, armies from 5 neighboring Arab countries attacked the new state of Israel, trying to destroy it. Israel survived that war, the War of Independence, and even gained more territory than the UN voted for. But by the end of the war, Jordan controlled the old city of Jerusalem and the historic Jewish lands on the west bank of the Jordan River, what many call Judea and Samaria, Yehuda v'Shamron. Egypt took control of the Gaza Strip, and Israel's neighbors stood ready to attack on all its new borders. Meanwhile, the proposed new Arab state was never created. Many Arab families who lived in the land moved into nearby countries, while others stayed inside Israel's new borders and became Israeli citizens. Over the decades, Israel's borders have changed through both wars and peace agreements. In 1967, when Israel's neighbors prepared to attack again, Israel struck first to defend itself in what became known as the Six-Day War. In just 6 days of fighting, Israel gained a lot of land from Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, uniting Jerusalem as the capital of the Jewish state for the first time in almost 2,000 years. In 1973, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Judaism's holiest day, Yom Kippur. It was a traumatic war for Israelis. They were caught off guard and lost a lot of people, a total shock after their overwhelming victory only 6 years earlier. But here's where Israel's story gets even more interesting and really surprising. Just a few years after the Yom Kippur War that shocked the country, Israel made peace with Egypt and returned land that it won in the Six-Day War. Eventually, Jordan also signed a peace treaty with Israel. In the 1990s, Israeli and Palestinian leaders surprised the world when they tried to work out a solution to share the land peacefully. They started writing out agreements to plan out a more peaceful future. But those agreements didn't lead to peace. And the talks ended with Palestinian extremists attacking Israeli buses and cafes and threatening everyday life for Israelis in the early 2000s. Life for Israelis and Palestinians throughout many parts of Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza has stayed complicated, a really hard puzzle to solve. Recent years have brought both hope and challenges. Back in 2020, Israel signed the Abraham Accords, creating new partnerships and cooperation with several Arab countries. The name of these agreements honors Abraham, the shared ancestor of Jews, Christians, and Muslims, showing that even in the most complex situations, people from different backgrounds can find common ground. But on October 7th, 2023, Hamas, an extreme Palestinian group that has been controlling Gaza since 2007, launched a surprise attack against Israel, targeting civilians and taking many hostages captive. This horrific attack sparked a devastating war between Israel and enemies from all around it. October 7th was the darkest moment Israel had faced since becoming a country, and its impact continues to be felt by Israelis and Jews around the world. Since then, peace between Israelis and Palestinians, and between Israel and many of its neighbors, has become even harder for people to imagine. Still, the puzzle of the Middle East continues to change. More countries may join the Abraham Accords in the future, as talks about greater peace in the Middle East continue even today. Israel's history has seen bitter conflict, inspiring resilience, and productive cooperation. Despite not always fitting in, Israel continues to thrive and contributes to the world around it. It develops new technology, makes medical discoveries, and even sends rescue teams to help other countries respond to disasters, sometimes helping in places that aren't particularly friendly toward Israel. The Middle East is a beautiful, complicated, historic region that features modern countries built on ancient civilizations, that's home to many different religions, languages, and peoples. It's like a puzzle with many different pieces, each finding their place next to each other. Israel's peace as a Jewish and democratic country is unique in its neighborhood. It's not always obvious to everyone how it fits. But we know this, even if Israel doesn't always fit in, Israel belongs in the Middle East. The Jewish people's roots run deep in this ancient land. The state of Israel and its existence as the only Jewish country in the world has a unique role to play. And while figuring out how all the pieces fit together is an ongoing process, there's always hope for a future where everyone can be accepted for who they are in the places they belong. The puzzle isn't finished yet. Israel and its neighbors still have a ways to go toward reaching a lasting peace. And while it can be hard to live in a world with such complicated conflicts, the best puzzles are worth taking time, getting creative, and working together to solve.